Today, more than 120 million people have been displaced from their homes worldwide. They carry with them memories of places they may never see again, and dreams they still hope to pursue. Yet for many refugee youth, one dream remains painfully out of reach. This is higher education. Globally, only 9% of refugees make it to colleges and universities. 91% are left behind. In Kenya, home to some of Africa's largest refugee communities, education is more than opportunity, it's a lifeline. Kakuma and Dadaab are not just camps, they are cities of resilience. Within their boundaries live young people whose talent, ambition, and determination rival any in the world. Yet the road to higher learning remains steep and uncertain. Through the voices of refugee youth themselves, we explore the realities, challenges, and the hope that shape their pursuit of higher education in Kenya.
The education factor here in Kakuma, it's obvious, it is very, very different from the education that is being provided in down countries. That's like Nairobi, Nakuru. If you've studied in Nairobi or Nakuru, like you won't have the same grade with the person who finished the Form 4 here in Kakuma refugee camp. Like the level of education, they are very, very different. If you see someone who studied in Nairobi or Nakuru or Kisumu, they are very eloquent, they pass, they have good grades, you know. So for this refugee who studied in Nairobi, to have that good grade, he has higher chances to get the scholarship. But for the person who finished the Form 4 here in Kakuma refugee camp, you'll find that they have poor grades. And if you have a poor grade, you will not get any scholarship if you have a low grade or a poor grade. So this is because of the education level. They're not the same. They're very, very different. I can say the challenges that are affecting refugees not to access higher education. The first one, I can say it is lack of information, I can say, or knowledge. For example, if you finish your Form 4 and you don't know how to apply for scholarship to go to university. So many learners, after they finish their Form 4, they just feel like that's the end of education because they don't know what can you do. Since we are refugees, our parents can't manage to pay for our school fees for university. So many learners, since they don't have knowledge on how or what they can do to apply for the scholarship so that they can go to the university, they just end it there. Then another one, it is due to documentation. For example, if you get a scholarship and for you to go to that school, let's say for example it's an abroad university, so you have to have your ID and that's your passport. You'll find that many refugees, we don't have passports, but they give a CTD. But for you to get that CTD, it's not easy. You can apply it and then you wait for 4 months. And maybe that scholarship, it is requiring you to join the university maybe in less than 2 months, and maybe the CTD takes something like 5 months for you to get that document. So like you'll find that you've missed that chance. So some of the documentation, it's very hard. Sometimes it's very hard to get these CTDs. Sometimes you'll find that other pupils to get the ID, the refugee ID, that they don't have the refugee IDs. So you can't even continue with the application if you don't have an ID. They should improve the level of education they are providing for students here in Kakuma refugee camp. Yeah, they should literally make it a bit 80% of the education that are being provided in down countries. Then the second one is on the documentation. When a student is applying for a CTD or any other documentation, the process should be in a hurry. It should not take a long time since many students are missing opportunities due to the documentation.
The experience is that for anyone landing in the camp, nothing is easy because number one, there are high numbers of students compared to the teachers. And there are always challenges when it comes to resources. When you look at resources like textbooks, they are always challenging because you get that the number of textbooks available are fewer compared to the number of students in the school. So that becomes quite challenging for anyone who is in secondary school. During our time, the number of trained teachers were very few by then. We were having a lot of our fellow refugees who completed high school, and they came back to give back to the community by teaching in our secondary schools. And the number of those who are by then employed by LWF were very few. So it's really quite challenging for you having teachers that are not trained while you are still competing nationally with those in the best schools with the same curriculum. It's not easy. The other challenge is also the financial constraint. Remember, accessing higher education in Kenya or abroad is very expensive, and refugees are not in position for them to pay the high cost of the tuition and the living standards when they go to university. So this makes it impossible for refugees to go to the universities and colleges. The other one is the number of opportunities. There are limited opportunities. Limited opportunities means that there are few scholarships, and these scholarships comes with competitions. The scholarships like who's maybe saying that they need 30 or 40, but there are thousands of applicants or hundreds of applicants. So there are really few opportunities that is making it impossible for refugees to access higher education in Kenya. The community-based organizations are important really because they understand the first-hand challenge that refugees are facing. So if the partners and UNHCR and the government can work together with these initiatives, I am very sure we are able to create more opportunities for refugees. With the recent policy of integrating refugees, if there is that opportunity for the UNHCR, the partners, and the government to create equal opportunities for refugees like Kenyans, where they can access the services or the loans that Kenyans are accessing, it will be easier for anyone who obtain the required grade for higher education for them to, get the fund and proceed with the university education without the delay. Thereafter now, the government will know how somebody will repay back the loans after finishing. Opportunities can also be created locally, especially if also refugees who have low grades are given opportunity to pursue diplomas in polytechnics. This will be important because most scholarships are always cutting out those refugees with low grade, and this is really unfair because when you cut out this number, they don't proceed to higher education and their lives end up in ruins. But if we give them opportunities even to polytechnics, these people can contribute to economic growth of the host country like Kenya.
UNHCR and its partners have been working together to expand access to higher education for refugee youth through the 15 by 30 roadmap, an initiative aiming to ensure that 15% of refugee youth can pursue higher education by 2030.
There has been progress. For the many years I've been there, and especially when I started around 2013, 2014, higher education opportunities was extremely limited. We were talking about an average of now 9%, but I think at the time it was lower than 1% because the only higher education opportunities that was available was the Duffy. We've had the Duffy scholarship program for many years, and a lot of refugee children in Kenya, whether they're based in Kakuma or in the Duff or in the urban, have had access to different Kenyan universities. So in principle, refugees could access higher education institutions in Kenya. But of course, higher education is not free in Kenya, even for Kenyan students. And the challenge for refugees was that even when you do very well in your high school exams, you are not included into the selection into the universities. So that was a barrier. So you're not automatically selected to attend universities if you get the required grade, as it is with Kenyan students. There are also issues around the freedom of movement. So every time you need to travel out of Kakuma, because the government maintains the incumbent policy, then you have to apply for a pass. And that oftentimes is not straightforward. It's not something that refugees will get easily. So there is also that issue, and then the documentation that is required sometimes is a challenge. There were many refugees who were in Kakuma for many years and have not had their refugee status determined. Without that recognition, then it's hard to access opportunities. Stakeholders should think about ways in which higher education opportunities can be made available in Kakuma. The generations of children have grown up in the camp, have not known any other home, and I think it's only fair that they are included in the national education system, that they can access universities, they can be able to obtain opportunities. The process for recognition of the prior learning, that's also addressed. It could be something that will really make a lot of difference. And then when we talk about higher education, it's not only access to universities. Are there opportunities for refugees to enroll in TVET programs, for example, and so on. So I know it's not easy, but it's important that the stakeholders work together to support higher education in places where the refugees are.